So let's dive right into this explainer. Today, we're heading way up to the edge of the Tibetan Plateau, high in the remote mountains of Yunnan, China. We're going to uncover exactly how a rugged, high-altitude frontier transformed itself into the real-world embodiment of a legendary utopia. It's a pretty wild journey filled with absolutely breathtaking landscapes, ancient traditions, and cultures that will completely challenge how you think about family and society. We have to begin our journey by asking a simple but honestly profound question. Is it actually possible to visit the paradise described in legends? For centuries, we've fantasized about finding a hidden sanctuary, a place completely untouched by the chaos of the modern world, where peace and harmony just rule. But what if I told you that a real place actually stepped forward to claim this mythical title? To figure out how this happened, we actually have to rewind back to 1933. That's when author James Hilton absolutely captivated the world with his novel Lost Horizon. In the book, he depicted this mystical, perfectly tranquil valley called Shangri-La, hidden deep within the Himalayas. It was a fictional utopia where people lived in perfect harmony. Nobody knew exactly where it was supposed to be, but the idea spread like wildfire, and explorers spent decades trying to find it. Well, in 2001, a real-world county in China made a pretty bold move. The county of Jiangdan, down in Yunnan, officially rebranded itself as Shangri-La. They looked at their towering snow-capped mountains, their deep gorges, and their rich Tibetan culture, and basically declared to the world, hey, the myth is real, and it's right here. Section 1. Gorges and Alpine Paradises. Let's start our climb into this newly minted utopia by checking out the sweeping natural landscapes that isolate and protect this region. Because let's be honest, a paradise isn't much of a paradise if it's super easy to get to, right? Our first stop is Tiger Leaping Gorge on the rushing Jinsha River. Just imagine a gap only 25 meters wide. At this impossibly narrow choke point, the raging river is squeezed right between towering mountains. Local legend says a tiger, running from a hunter, literally leaped across this massive canyon right at this 25-meter gap. Standing there, listening to the roar of the water, you immediately feel the raw, untamed power of this frontier. Climbing even higher, and we're talking into the biting cold of 3,500 meters now. We enter Pudacuo, China's very first national park. Now, this isn't just a scenic spot. It is an absolute ecological powerhouse. It acts as a pristine sanctuary, holding 20% of the country's plant species. To put that into perspective, that's 1/5 of all the plant life in China, plus 1/3 of its mammal and bird life, just right here. You hike these wooden pathways around crystal-clear alpine lakes, breathing in that thin, crisp air, while wild yaks are just grazing peacefully in the background. It's surreal. Section 2. Monasteries and Ancient Streets. Now, Shangri-La isn't just about raw nature. It's about a deeply ingrained culture where centuries-old architecture fuses perfectly with the harsh landscape. Sitting at a breathless altitude of over 3,300 meters, and I mean literally breathless, is the Songzanlin Monastery. Built back in the 17th century, it is stunning. People often call it the Little Potala Palace because its golden roofs and stark white walls just pop brilliantly against the blue highland sky. Inside, it's this massive labyrinth of dark, incense-filled halls, vibrant murals, and crimson-robed monks. It is absolutely the most important Tibetan Buddhist monastery in Yunnan. When you visit, you'll immediately notice this mesmerizing rhythm. Monks and visitors alike continuously move in a clockwise direction around sacred spaces, stupas, and prayer wheels. This is the concept of Kora. It's essentially a walking meditation, a really powerful physical expression of deep devotion that connects the people to their faith with every single step they take. Down in the 1,300-year-old Dukezong ancient town, that devotion requires some literal heavy lifting. Up on a hill overlooking the stone-paved streets sits an enormous golden prayer wheel. It's 21 meters high and weighs a staggering 16 tons. 16 tons! There is no way one person is moving that. It takes at least 20 people heaving and pushing together just to get it to spin. It's this incredibly beautiful moment where individual effort transforms into a shared communal act of prayer. Section 3. The Kingdom of Women. We're going to leave the Tibetan Plateau for a bit and head over to the borders of Yunnan and Sichuan to discover a completely different but equally fascinating society at Lugu Lake. We are entering a place frequently called the Kingdom of Women. Here we find the Mosuo people, who operate one of the world's absolute last matrilineal societies. In a Mosuo household, the grandmother sits right at the very top. She handles the family's finances and makes all the big decisions. Property, land, heritage, it's all passed exclusively down the female line, and children proudly take their mother's family name. Now, what's really fascinating here is their concept of walking marriage. It completely flips traditional family structures on its head. Actually, scratch that. Couples don't even move in together at all, and they don't share property. Instead, lovers meet at the woman's house at night, and then, at dawn, the man heads back to his own mother's home to work and live. It essentially separates romance from the tough economics of running a household, which ensures the large matrilineal family stays totally intact. And this whole unique society thrives right on the shores of crystal-clear Lugu Lake. Sitting at nearly 2,700 meters above sea level, the Masuo reverently call it their mother lake. The entire region is deeply rooted in local folklore and is watched over by the sacred Gyima goddess mountain, seamlessly tying the people, their matriarchal culture, and this stunning environment together. Section 4. Tasting the Tibetan Plateau. Look, surviving at such extreme altitudes, whether you're in Shangri-La or over by Lugu Lek, takes immense resilience. And that brings us to the sustaining, hearty, and incredibly flavorful culinary traditions of the plateau. To beat the high-altitude chill, locals rely heavily on yaks and highland barley. A classic breakfast up here is sampa. It's a hearty, grainy flour made from roasted barley that you actually mix by hand right in your bowl with hot, salty, and ultra-rich yak butter tea. It's dense, it's super filling, and it gives you exactly the kind of sustained energy you need when the air is thin and freezing cold. For dinner, it's all about communal warmth with a traditional Tibetan hot pot. But trust me, this isn't your average hot pot. It's expertly assembled in a very specific order, sometimes stacked up to 15 layers deep. You start with ribs and preserved veggies at the bottom. Then you pile on highland mushrooms and yams, and finally crown the whole thing with hearty yak meat. A super rich broth is poured over it all, and it's heated by glowing coals dropped right into the center of the pot. It is incredible. Now up here, we also find some unbelievably rare ingredients, like cordyceps. Yeah, if you're a fan of the show or game The Last of Us, you definitely know the name. But here in the real world, this parasitic caterpillar fungus is highly prized for its medicinal properties. The catch? It only grows naturally in the snow above 4,000 meters, so farmers literally have to lie down flat in the freezing snow just to spot it and carefully harvest it by hand. So, as we wrap up this explainer, I think it's pretty clear that true paradise isn't just some fictional hidden valley from a 1930s novel. The real Shangri-La is a living, breathing culture. It's sustained by unwavering faith, entirely unique societal bonds like we saw with the Mosuo, and this rugged resilience that lets people not just survive, but thrive in some of the most dramatic natural beauty on Earth. The real Shangri-La exists right here among these soaring mountains, golden monasteries, and incredibly tough communities. It goes to show that paradise is usually a mix of spectacular nature and deep human connection. Which leaves us with one final thought to ponder today. When you close your eyes and imagine the perfect harmony of nature and culture, what does your version of earthly paradise actually look like?